and welcome to Upzone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two favorite hosts.
Only.
Absolutely. Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House Representative for the 43rd District for the state of North Carolina, and myself, Tisha S. Waddell, for the former City Council Representative for the 3rd District in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Mr. Floyd, that feels so far removed, Mr. Floyd. It feels like a lifetime ago that I was sitting in the dais and doing the business of the city. Does it feel like yesterday for you, or has it been a minute?
It doesn't matter, Tish.
It
It
doesn't even
doesn't.
matter. Like The Rock said, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you know I look at it as having the opportunity to serve,
Absolutely.
and
And once elected, you always have that frame of reference.
yeah, I mean that's all that it is. I mean, no one should serve a lifetime. You know,
Tell it, Floyd.
you see. I'm happy and pleased with my 12 years of services and what I was able to bring back to my community. I just
Yeah,
hope that those going forward will will do the same and have an
absolutely.
understanding of politics.
I love that, Mr. Floyd. And it's so interesting because I had an occasion to have a conversation with a candidate on our ballot. Well, not on my ballot, but a candidate that's coming up on the ballot. And that is one of the things that I told them. I said it's such an honor to be selected in this capacity and to be elected by your peers in the community to represent them is such an honor. And Mr. Floyd, when you are really tuned into what's good for your community, and this is what I told this person, I said, when you're really tuned into what's good for your community, it moves forward whether you're there or not. When you have an initiative and you put it on the table, if it's a good initiative and it's good for your community, it moves forward whether you're there or not. And it was nice because that individual acknowledged, Mr. Floyd, that they noticed that all of the things that I said were important and that I pushed for during my tenure as a city council person are still coming into effect because they were important to our community, and I was right. So
Well, you're right, Tish, but it just so happened I can't speak for at the council level,
yeah,
but at the state level, and also perhaps at the national level, people tend to want you to forget about those that elected you to serve
oh,
from
absolutely,
your district. In
absolutely.
some kind of way, we fall, into that trap, and we manipulate our community that we are there representing them and to bring back projects and programs when in fact they are following a slight few agenda over the people in which elected you. And I just
Absolutely.
hope that some kind of way that change can be
But those are
worked.
the people that want to be lifetime politicians, because when you're not looking to make a lifetime out of what should be a very short-lived career, you recognize that you get in, you set an agenda, you put the pieces on the table so that somebody else can come behind you and move that agenda forward. And then you go home or you go do whatever is next.
That's why I teach, to me, I look at whether you're a county board of commissioner, city council person, or a U.S. whatever representative. I favor term limits.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
You
I
know,
think DJ Harris been on the city council too long. And I think what we saw happen with this ethics complaint is an example of what happens when you've been somewhere for too long. I
teach
think
them.
that Kathy Jensen has been on the city council too long. It's like you've become very possessive and this becomes your baby instead of you being there to do what the people sent you to do.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I'm saying when you get term limits, you automatically bring on new people. I mean, certain people just see your the individual name and just vote. Well, I knew him, but you got
Familiarity.
to look at you have to look at it, and I look at it, teacher. I know sometimes you get disgusted when I say it. I look at it to see which one of them is temporarily employed by Amazon. That's what I look at. You know,
Right.
I mean, I know you mentioned DJ
And you
Jones.
can't hang your hat on something that you started 8 years ago. You need to, what's fresh, what's current, what are you still bringing to the table? And if there's nothing, then you've done what you came to do, and it's time to go home.
But that's why I'm saying term limits will automatically bring on fresh and new, new ideas. And
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you have any announcements for our audience, Mr. Floyd?
yes, yes, yes.
What you
One is that again, Armstrong is having their class reunion,
got?
and
Okay.
that's going to be, I think it's on the 21st at Armstrong School. That's over in the East Oak area. And then you have the NAACP. They're having their banquet. I believe it's this this coming Saturday. I think it's this coming Saturday at Fort Liberty. And the
Okay.
Democrat Party is having a brunch, and that's too. It's coming Saturday, and the tickets are $35. So if you can run down Ellis, he has the tickets for you.
Mr.
But
Floyd, if you can run down who?
Alice Allison, that's his name. Two
Mr.
first.
Floyd, when I met Mr. Ellison and I learned that his name was Ellison, I needed to understand the story behind that.
Yeah. So that's why he he'd been with the senior Democrats
He's
for a
been
long
around a while. Yeah.
yeah. And I told him, I said, well, as a senior Democrat, I said, you all say that you all are too old to vote. So, but anyway, that's that's Chick-fil-A there.
Tell
It's
us about this. You sent me this picture. Tell me, this was a big announcement. I think this is a very big announcement.
to get Chick-fil-A to come into your community. I don't know what Chick-fil-A sell. Whatever they sell, there's a line. I don't know what it is, but
Always.
this is the Chick-fil-A that's across the street from Fayetteville State. And the chancellor mentioned that when he first came, is that his two daughters was looking for Chick-fil-A when they arrived in Fayetteville.
How
So
cool is
just
it for your dad
now,
to bring you what you're looking for?
and
That's really cool. And to bring it to the community that needs it the most. Mr. Floyd, I remember in 20, I guess it was 2016, 2015, when the hurricanes came through, and we were down working at the Mount Sinai apartments, trying to help people clear out their
mhm,
apartments. You couldn't even have a pizza delivered down there. You
yes,
couldn't even have a pizza delivery company deliver a pizza down there. We were trying to
yes,
feed the workers and we could not have a pizza delivered. Now you can drive right up the road, or you can, and it's actually, you can walk there. It's in
yes.
walking distance. You can walk to Chick-fil-A now from your apartment if you live at Mount Sinai apartment community.
Now this
That's
one,
huge, Mr. Floyd.
now this
That's
one does
huge.
not have a drive-through. It's basically for those person who wants to come in, order, and leave, and those that want to sit in.
Right.
So, but my understanding also is that the one at the mall is going to close. So I wouldn't say that that's in relationship to this because they have another Chick-fil-A right across from the mall.
Right.
Again, teach I don't know what's in the food, but whatever it is, it's a moneymaker.
Absolutely. And Mr. Floyd, this is definitely a traffic driver. So we're going to see, when we talk about an uptick in traffic, because currently, if you want to go to Chick-fil-A, the closest Chick-fil-A is the one on Ramsey Street.
Yes.
And that's all the way down on the northern end of Ramsey Street by the Walmart. So
Hmm.
if you want to go to Chick-fil-A and you're on the Murkison Road footprint, you have an opportunity now to be able to just drive right down Murkison Road, right across the street from Fayetteville State, to go to Chick-fil-A. What do you think is going to happen as we begin to see this uptick in traffic on Murkison Road?
What is going to happen? You know, uh, Fayetteville State is revitalizing uh, the Bronco Square.
They
I
are.
think they call it Bronco downtown. But if you look at it, they have uh, the exterior, meaning the grounds, and also the building. So it's going to be an attraction that's going to draw traffic uh, to the Bronco Square. So to
Absolutely.
those, I mean, the chancellor is doing a wonderful job,
Go ahead, say it. Kudos to the chancellor.
and even Saturday I had an opportunity to
I'm
go
coming.
to
I'm pulling it up, Mr. Floyd.
okay.
You beating me there, but I'm pulling it up for you.
You know, I was just amazed. Oh, this is not the first time that I've seen it, but in comparison to last year and the my time at the university, and this is the marching band there, and I call it the $1 million machine because when I was at Fayetteville State, we only had two bass horns. Now they have about 10 or 12, and they have 100 plus piece band. When
Yeah,
I was there, we had 46, and the uniform looked nothing like this.
yeah,
Okay, looked nothing like this. And the stadium, to be a small university, is just marvelous.
yeah,
So again, they won at the last minute
yeah,
of the game. I think it was like 35-31. So I was so impressed with the marching band just to see their performance. And then again, I was in the band in high school, so just to look at the band and see the growth from when I was there a short period of time ago and what it is today, it was just, I mean, I was just amazed to see the
yeah.
growth from last year, a marching band, to this year marching band. So you get a chance, go by some of the state games and watch it. I call it the $1 million marching machine.
Absolutely. And congratulations to Fayetteville State on your win. Mr. Floyd, what other announcements do you have for our audience today?
Well, now the Triple Nickel is having their banquet on the 21st also, and that's it's going to be out at Fort Liberty.
Okay.
They use that to provide scholarships. And I think so far they're giving out over, I think they said over 50, well over $50,000 in scholarship
Okay.
there, and that they may do that each year. So those are the activities that we and the president is coming to North Carolina again.
Okay. The
Uh,
president is coming or the vice president is coming?
well, the president is coming to Greensboro and Charlotte
Okay.
after the debate Tuesday.
Okay.
So, but I just wish that some of her campaign person to ask her
No,
not.
she's the vice president. Is she coming or is the president coming?
The vice president is
Okay.
coming, and but I just wish that they just changed the location because they have been to Greensboro, Charlotte, but if you want to reach the people, then you need to sort of do a bus tour like you did in Georgia because the northeastern part of the state has not been blessed by the campaign.
Mr. Floyd, or send us some mailers because I've gotten 3 mailers now from the campaign of Donald Trump, and I've gotten nothing from Kamala Harris.
Well, see, that's the
Registered unaffiliate. Now, I also went in and checked my registration status, and I want to tell everybody you need to go check your registration status. Mr. Floyd, I have voted in every election, the primaries and the general elections. I voted in all of them. And I went in, and my registration status says inactive. I was like, help me. And I did that because somebody called me and asked me, were they on my ballot? And I told them no. And they told me that they were sure that they were on my ballot. And I was sure that they were not. So I went in to make sure that I had not had a lapse in judgment or memory from the last time that I saw my ballot. And I did confirm that they're not on my ballot, but I also saw that I'm listed as inactive. So, Mr. Floyd, if somebody goes in and looks at the Board of Elections website or looks at the voter registration website, should I say, and they notice that their registration is showing inactive, how can they rectify that?
I suggest that they stop what they're doing. If they're mowing the grass, leave the lawnmower in the middle of the grass go to the Board of Election, you know,
On
and
Fountainhead Lane.
Fountainhead Lane and address that issue so that they can correct it. That's why early voting is important because if there's some discrepancy, you have about 15 days or 16 days to correct that
And
because
you can register same day in early during early voting.
yeah. But now early voting is you know it's good. I just don't like me the absentee ballot part because our postal system sometimes work at a super snail pace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because you sent it off, you should have gotten it around September the 5th, but because of the court decision, you won't get that. If you send it off, there is no guarantee that it will be there by 7:30 on the day of election.
Right.
No guarantee. So
Right.
your vote will not count. So if you get an absentee ballot, I even suggest that you carry that to Fountainhead Lane.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting because, City View today did a really good job of preparing everybody for
Hmm.
this upcoming election. So if you get an opportunity, make sure you read this article. But here's what we know so far. The general election was supposed to get underway on Friday, September the 6th, when county election offices were scheduled to start sending mail in ballots to voters who have requested them. They're still waiting as of September 9th because of a lawsuit over whether more than 2.9 million ballots must be reprinted to remove Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name following the decision to suspend his campaign. So the absentee ballot is being held pending that decision. Election day is Tuesday, November the 5th. These are the people who will be on your ballot, and you can get more information about all of those people either online at the Board of Elections website. You can look at their campaign websites. You can there are a litany of different ways that you can be able to a number of different ways that you can be able to go in and find information about these candidates. You can find your sample ballot online at the Board of Elections website, or you can find it on the voter registration site where you can also check to see whether you're active or inactive. And here's the information on what you can expect as far as voting. The deadline for most absentee ballots is that they must be returned to the Board of Elections office by 7:30 p.m. on November the 5th. You can vote early in person from October the 17th through November the 2nd at 8 locations around Cumberland County. You can click on this article to find those locations and to get the voting sites and their hours. I'll put this up on our Upzone Facebook page so that it makes it easy for people to find this if they need to. Registration is required. Again, here's the link for where you can go to see if you are registered and if you are active or inactive. Please make sure that you take care of that if it is your interest to vote in this election. The deadline to register for this upcoming election is 5 p.m. on October the 11th. So you need to make sure that your voter registration information is updated by then. And Mr. Floyd, is there anything else that you think that people need to know going into this?
Now,
Um,
now remember that the early voting sites open up at 6:30 and they close at 7:30.
mhm.
So, like you mentioned, there's eight polling sites, and
Right.
normally during the election cycle, the Board of Election has moved. Well, the last election cycle, it moved its office to a temporary office, temporary space, what you want to call it, to the rec center on Fort Bragg Road.
Right.
There, forgot the name of that center. Uh, Harsh, not Harshes, but that's one of the
I know where you're talking about, the Honeycut Park.
Honeycut, honey,
Yeah, yeah, I know what
Honeycut.
you're talking about.
They moved their office, there. So, but the key thing of it is to check your registration, and if you do same day registration, and if you don't have all of the information, then they are going to give you what I call a cheat sheet, which when I was, in the General Assembly, we asked them to provide that because they will tell the person that you need to have that back by the last day of canvassing when they canvasses 10 days after the election to certify the election. What canvases mean that other people don't mean worth 2 cents. Okay. So, but now they will tell the person that you will have to bring this back. But the other key thing to it, Tish, whether we like it or not, voter ID is required.
Well, and
So
there
you,
had been some dialogue about absentee ballots, about there being some additional information that was being, I guess, this cheat sheet that was being included that gave information that contradicted the actual rules of the absentee ballot. So, as an example, that it needed to be sealed. So, I think that people need to be very mindful of, you need to know the rules of your absentee ballot for yourself so that you can ensure that your ballot is counted.
well, I agree, but my purpose, I think they've already got 2 point something million requests for absentee ballot. I just prefer to vote in person. It's just like people that have the various voter registration drives and
Drives.
whatnot.
Mhm.
Sometimes those registration does not get to the board of election. So
Right.
you go anticipating that you are eligible to vote, only to find out that John Doe failed to turn in your registration.
Right. And Mr. Floyd, I find it very interesting because as we talk about the delay in the voter registration ballots, I'm not in the voter registration ballots, in the absentee ballots. I find it interesting that the Kennedy conversation is not one that concerns more than just maybe the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, but I would think that it would concern the both of these parties. Let me tell you why I say that. Mr. Floyd, like I would think that it would be a no-brainer to take him off the ballot. That's the point I'm trying to make. And the reason I say that is because he could potentially pull votes from both sides because the name Kennedy, if you think about it, in the back in the day, there were two prominent pictures in most black households. Mr. Floyd, can you think of what those two pictures may have been? They were two prominent people who were pictured in most black households,
That was Kennedy and King in mine.
Kennedy and King. And so, even if a person is an uninformed voter, the name Kennedy rings a bell for black folk. So that would be a concern if I were running for president of the United States. I would want his name off of the ballot because I would think that just by virtue, and again, I'm speaking to an uninformed voter base, which we both know are the people who turn out the most for a presidential election. It's typically the uninformed voter that's turning out the most for a presidential election. So if they see that name Kennedy, what is the likelihood that that evokes some sentimental memory and causes them to fill in that bubble for Kennedy? Not to say that that would cause him to win the election, but most certainly it could change the trajectory of who does.
Well, since North Carolina is really a strong two-party state,
Hmm.
Democrat and Republican, any other party that name appear on the ballot would have an adverse effect on those two parties, Democrat or Republican, whether you're Libertarian, Green Party, or whatever, you know, you're gonna have an adverse effect. So what is taking place now, as you know, he fought to get his name on the ballot.
Now he's got to
Now
fight to
he's
get it off.
fighting to get his name off the ballot because he have now endorsed uh, uh,
Trump.
Donald Trump as so he wanted to make sure that those persons that perhaps wanted to vote it for him now would then vote for Donald Trump.
And
So
apparently he's a part of which party is he a part of? He's the He's
What
not. He's is he the We the People Party?
with the people?
Okay, so there's 255 We the People. I thought was it which party is Cornell West?
I forgot to.
Justice for All or something. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many different. There's yeah, it's Justice for All. There's so many different parties. So now we have Justice for All on the ballot. We've got We the People on the ballot,
And
and
then American.
all these others. But you know, Mr. Floyd, like I said, I just think that there's something about that name Kennedy to an uninformed voter that evokes a sentimental response that will cause them to fill in that bubble. I would think that the Democrats would be very invested
Well,
in removing him from the ballot.
well, Tish, one thing, and you're right. I mean, I have worked at polls ever since 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 many times people come to the poll. They come to the poll heavier during the presidential election,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell whether a person has really spent time on the ballot. Uh, if they go in overstated and out within 2 minutes, you know that they only came in to vote for in the presidential election. None of the down ticket. And so what people don't really understand, not only this concern about taking him off the ticket, we concentrate so heavy like on the governor's race, the president race, but we fail to look at none of those two, the governor nor the president, can do anything unless they have a strong relationship in both chambers,
Right.
the House and the Senate. And then again, you also got to look at on the ballot the judgeship.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's three appellate judgeship that's up for re-election, and one North Carolina Senate Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
Those are key because whatever is done by the House or the Senate or vetoed by the governor or whatever, it may wind up in court. And
Right.
if you look at the courts at the national level, uh, we know how it's viewed. And we look at the state level, there's a 5-2 on the state Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it is key that you not only look at the presidential or the governor, you got to look at the down ballot,
Right.
also the judgeship. That that is key because you know you're going to appeal it to a court,
Right.
and so if you don't have courts now have gotten more political than basing upon you making a decision based on the law. It's
Right.
done political. So again, please look at the down ballot and also the the courts. It's
Mm-hmm.
critical. The courts are.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Floyd. Is Fayetteville getting a new city manager?
See, I've been hearing from Rumorville that the present city manager is too policy driven. Okay, if you understand what I mean by policy driven,
Well,
you
that's
know,
new because when I was there, we couldn't get anybody to be policy driven.
well, he is
I
going to give
understand what you're
you,
saying.
he is going to give you based upon policies and whatever statute that he has to perform his duties and responsibilities. He is going to do that,
Okay.
and some people just don't like that. Teacher.
They want to run rogue.
They want they want the manager to come with suggestions and recommendations that will favor their viewpoint or their
Well, you know, for years there's been a push to fire the city manager. I've talked about this before. You know, we've had a discussion about how there have been these closed door conversations to fire the city manager. There have been votes taken to fire the city manager. He's still standing. So what is the
because it's
rumor
good.
mill? What's
He's
the
good.
rumor mill saying now, Floyd?
Well, the rumor deal say is that the same. Well, I'm trying to put it in a nice way that they want to bring in the city manager for Columbia, South Carolina, uh, to replace this sitting manager, which is they're doing a super job.
So I want you to pause right there. I want you to pause right there. Let me tell you why I'm making the face that I'm making. And if anybody is just listening and you can't see me, I'm making the well, that's interesting face. And the reason that that's interesting, Mr. Floyd, is because if you recall, in 2019, Mayor Mitch Colvin was sworn in by then seated mayor from Columbia, South Carolina, Benjamin, what's his last
I
name?
don't know his name, but I know he
His
was the
name
mayor.
is Steve Benjamin. Steve Benjamin. So Mayor Steve Benjamin swore in Mayor Mitch Colvin. A lot of people thought that this was a very it was just a thing that happened. There was nothing to see here. I thought it was very interesting because as we were on the heels of this dialogue about the sale of PWC, I came to find out that Steve Benjamin was involved in conversations with Bernhard Capital, and he was also affiliated with the Charleston Group because he was eventually hired at the Charleston Group. Steve Benjamin eventually decided not to run for reelection and was appointed to a position at the White House in the administration, in this administration. So Steve Benjamin was the mayor of South Columbia, South Carolina. He served concurrently with this city manager that we're talking about. Her name is Teresa Wilson.
Hmm.
Teresa Wilson has been the city manager in Columbia, South Carolina for approximately 11 years, based upon what I found online, which means that she served as the city manager under or in conjunction with, yes, under, because
Yeah,
they are also a manager council form of government.
councilwoman. Yeah.
Right. So she served under the administration of Steve Benjamin. So there's a lot of overlap here. So we've got Mayor Steve Benjamin serving with City Manager Teresa Wilson and Mayor Steve Benjamin working with Bernhard Capital and also working with the Charleston Group, as he's actually an employee of the Charleston Group, or was. And we've got him swearing in Mayor Mitch Colvin and also some other stuff in the water. So what does all that mean, Floyd?
Well, I mean, it just seems to me it's sort of like you want to. I looked at it when I first heard it. Here we go again. You're going to sell. I mean, I'm just going back. You're going to give away a money making agency. And I looked at the city manager. Here you're going to, looking at a city manager who is doing a marvelous job, you know, at it as a city manager for the city of Fayetteville. And I began to wonder, where's the thinking? Where is the thinking? Why would you even look at someone who is at somewhere in the neighborhood about 254 and one is at 256?
Now,
I
wait,
mean,
because you're just throwing numbers. So we're talking salary now.
salary,
So
right?
the salary for the city manager, Teresa Wilson, as is reported online, is $254,329.25. And that's after being on her job for 11 years. We see our city manager here in Fayetteville, his salary is $255,310 for his duties after being in office for as long as he, or being in his position for as long as he's been. Um, Mr. Floyd, so they're comparable in salary. They've been in their positions, for quite some time. Why would she come here?
Well, again, as I mentioned, one person is policy driven, and we talked about before about how our court system, now operate. And so, if I want to move, is what we call it the how you spend something. So if I want someone, I need somebody to help me spin my vision. If you
And
understand.
Mr. Floyd, I need to say this because I think that, as I was having this conversation that I told you about at the top of the show with the person who will appear on some people's ballots, I found that we were talking about redistricting and about the perception of how their home becoming a part of a district was perceived by many in the community. And one of the things that I made mention of was there's always a reason for everything. And that person responded to me, well, what is the reason? And I said, well, that's what we all want to know. We all want to know what is the reason. And only the people who are involved can tell us that. And it becomes concerning when they won't tell us that. It's not concerning that they did it, it's concerning that they won't tell us why they did it. So, Mr. Floyd, I'll say this, and I told this person, it's very likely that you don't know the reason, but they have a reason. So I'm not saying that the city manager Teresa Wilson is some part of a nefarious plot and that she would come here to behold to some agenda. But what I'm saying is if people want to bring her here, you have to question because it's the city council's job to hire the city manager. So you have to ask the question of your city council, why this individual? And you cannot accept as an
No.
answer because they're qualified, because there are so many that are qualified, but this one comes attached to all of these other pressure
Well,
points that can paint a different picture.
well, T. I'm gonna say another thing is that when you look at politics, they use the word accessibility.
Okay.
Okay, they use the word accessibility. And so, if a person comes, that means they want that person to be accessible to them.
Okay.
Okay, that's key.
No, I don't
That is
disagree. I don't disagree.
okay.
I think that sometimes though we forget to remind people also about the word relationship
Teach our
because
community. I
because
don't mean to speak for,
relationships affect judgment.
but in our community, you know, we spend more time with the razzle and dazzle approach.
Absolutely.
We don't see the facts behind that, and I can only speak for the community in which I live in. Is how we are easily to be manipulated.
Absolutely.
We are
And
super.
absolutely.
You know, I mean, I can't speak for another community, whatever. But to us, we forget the kind of thing that has happened to us from one election to the next election. It's just our community and the way that we think. That's why we cannot move ourselves out of a tier one community. I mean, there's been other moved out of the 40, which is the bottom of, part of economic development, but 8 have moved out. But unless we change the those persons that's in decision making and begin to look at growth, then we're going to have the same manipulation, rather than dazzle approach, the car salesman approach. And we got some elected officials that will sell you a car and tell you that you can drive it off the parking lot with no rims. Not
Yeah.
not the rubber part now.
Yeah.
You, you, you know, no, just with the what we call it, the rotary. You can drive it off with the rotary.
Right. And I want to remind everybody when I say that relationships affect how you make decisions, this is proven, Mr. Floyd, in the fact that we have ethics standards and we have conflict of interest policies because relationships affect the way you make decisions. And so I think that everybody should pay attention to what you're saying and not be razzled and dazzled and not be schmoozed over. And don't forget about what happened within the last 5 years, because if you forget, you are bound to see yourself in a position where you wish you wouldn't have.
But see, that's a, that's our problem. And I, you know, I I was. you know, and it's the way in which people are able to do certain things. There was an event that took place in Fayetteville. I'm not going to call it the event. Don't want to be specific about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, to me, it was a mutual activity. But instead of having a mutual person, as the moderator,
Yeah.
it became a political
It's political.
event. Okay, but it should have been neutral.
Yeah.
Wherein that I was talking to this gentleman, and he mentioned that his name was his name started with a C, and so of the list, he should have been called early.
Right.
But that person did not call early, and then he had to be reminded by someone of a council person to say that you omitted this person.
Right.
And I say that because we 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 get in, and for some kind of way we know how to razzle and dazzle those persons who are doing these various programs that I am the best of, and uh, I'm the best
Yeah.
because
There's a loss of humility. There's a loss of that humble disposition just flies out the window. But that's the nature of politics. I have a question though for you, Mr. Floyd,
mhm,
because when we talking about razzling and dazzling, I think it's some razzling and dazzling going on. How did Cumberland County Schools end up on the Forbes list as an employer of choice? What are they doing over there that I don't know about?
well, Tish, I look at the fact that we had 27 failing schools. So some kind of way we had to change that so we was able to bring in strong new faculty members that
Okay.
would move us from the 27 from 27 to
So is
17.
it these sign-on bonuses or like what is it? What's
Well,
making this it can't be the hours because the teachers are talking about how grueling their hours are. Who is who is it the top level employees that are saying this is an employer of choice? Is it the teachers? Is it the support staff like the custodians and the lunch people? Who are we saying that Cumberland County Schools is an employer of choice for that made Forbes list and is one of two, I think, school districts that is listed on Forbes list. Like that's a big deal. What are we doing? It needs to be
well,
discussed.
when you talk about that, Tish, now you also got to look at a big deal about it. Say that Cumberland County, if you want to know how to use profanity, that in North Carolina, Fayetteville is the best place to learn. So it depends on which survey you look at.
I
Okay,
know, but I mean, we tend to trust Forbes. We tend to
I'm just saying. I mean, remind you, not just say to you now. If you want to learn how to use profanity, which is education,
come to
you
Fayetteville.
come here to Fayetteville.
Well, Mr. Floyd, I need you to keep your ear to the ground, and I need you to be talking to some people over there at these Cumberland County schools and find out what are they doing because we need to talk about if it's got to be good if you're an employer of choice listed by Forbes magazine, one of only two schools that have been listed by them, you got to be doing something that needs to be talked about.
When you look at having based upon the ABCD rating that the General Assembly passed from school,
Hmm.
and
Which is
you were able,
ludicrous because their standard of ABCD is a
yeah.
far cry from what we grew up with. But go ahead.
So when you look at that, and one way of rating that, and if you look at that, and we are able to move about 2/3 of those schools off the failing list, you know, we had to bring in qualified teachers in order to do that. And so,
Okay.
like you said, it may be the bonus there or whatever, but to be in education, to be in education, you got to truly love it.
You gotta love it. And
Okay.
congratulations to Cumberland County Schools because again, I want to say that's no small feat. And I just want to know what are y'all doing? Because we have not apparently talked enough about the politics at Cumberland County Schools to be able to understand what are they doing to deserve this designation. Congratulations. I want to know What did y'all do?
Again,
Congratulations.
I look at it from a standpoint of view. I mean, this is just looking at just one aspect of it.
Hmm.
Of there is that the number of schools that we have. I think we have 84, 86 schools, and you had 27 just repeating, and you were able to move those schools and bring them back, and just have 10. Now let's see again next year where these 10 schools are, and whether or not they are going to move up out of that 10 slot.
Right. And
Yeah.
let's also remember that Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, who handles the budget for the schools, some of them are on the ballot this upcoming election, as are some of your school board members. So let's just be focused on decision makers as we continue to move this conversation forward, because it's all about the decisions that the decision makers are making, because that affects everything that's happening in the classroom. Everything.
Well, like you said, both there's three persons that's going to be on the three seats are up on the county board of commissioners.
You
I
got
think
six
there's
people,
six
three
people.
Republicans and three Democrats who are going to be on your ballot.
And I think there's six-person board of education that's going to be, on the ballot. But many a lot is based upon uh, many start campaigning, some like 60 days out from the election. But if you're going to run for office, any public office, you can't wait 60 days out to start want to know who is Mary Jane.
Right, right. Well, Mr. Floyd, what you want to leave the people with today?
Well, again, my thing in the upcoming election, if you have somebody that you can talk with to get uh, someone to move into the northeastern part of North Carolina and campaign, it would be greatly appreciated. And
Yeah,
my second thing is always, G, when you go to the poll in November, please look at see who is going to be a part-time employee of Amazon.
right. And I just want to say I love y'all. I don't always like everybody, but I always love you. And I want to encourage our audience, because Mr. Floyd, this is a time of year when the weight of family issues, the weight of finances, all of those things kind of start to descend down on people around this holiday season. We're shifting into, the festivities of the holiday season. I just want to encourage the people that are watching today. First of all, as we move closer toward Christmas, please don't go broke trying to buy stuff for people who are not going to appreciate it 15 minutes after they open the package. And the truth of the matter is that most of us have everything that we need, truly. So don't go overboard with the wants and put yourself in a bad financial position. Also, the other thing that I want to remind people is, as we move toward Thanksgiving, there's always something to be thankful for, Mr. Floyd. There's always something to be thankful for. So don't get in a rut thinking about what you don't have, or who's not with you, or all of the things that could cause you to feel heavy and weighted. Find the thing that you can be thankful for and give God thanks for that. And then finally, as we move closer toward October, I want to make a public service announcement to all of the parents out there. Please stop celebrating Halloween. It is a very dangerous holiday. It is not something it's not what we used to think it was back in the 80s when we were dressing up and going door to door getting candy. Is very demonically influenced, and there's a lot of danger and trauma around that day. So just be mindful as you move through the next 3 or 4 months about how you're handling all of these holidays. If you want to debate me about it, find somebody else to do that with, because I don't want to do that with anybody. Enjoy your friends, enjoy your family, continue to tune in with us, because we want to keep talking to you about what's going on politically,
She
don't we,
said,
Floyd?
yeah, she says you exit. I appreciate your kind word, but all holidays are economically driven.
And that part right there. that
Okay,
is that is a part of a huge push
that,
for these
that's why
holidays,
that's why we do that. We started off with what, Valentine's Day,
and go all the
Mother's
way
Day,
through. We
Father's
always
Day, 4th of July. All of them are economically driven.
Economically driven.
Okay,
Save your money. Save your money. Keep your money in your pocket.
you know that. So that's what it is to make sure that we spend our money on a monthly basis over what we actually have and make, and what they call
That we are
shrinking.
super consumers.
Yeah, shrinking package. You got the same package, but you got less product.
Absolutely. So that's our show for today. Tell a friend and tell a friend, like, share, subscribe, and follow. And remember to tune in, listen on the next episode.